right, good evening. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to night 5 of Read Aloud with Dr. Ivey. My name is Trevor Ivey, and I am a proud educator here in Sumter County in the great state of South Carolina. And we are finishing up our 5th night of a engaging Read Aloud activity to end the night in a special way during a very uncertain time. And I have been inspired by all of the educators, not only around me in my very own community, but across our great state and even the nation, in really stepping up and stepping out of their comfort zone to completely redesign teaching and learning for our children. And so that is the main purpose of why I am doing this, is for the children. And so if you're just now joining in for our first night, again, this is night 5. We've been doing this since Monday. And I want to quickly recap all of the books that we have shared this week that culminates, that leads up to a very special book to end our first week together. On Monday, I shared a really pretty cool book called Iggy Peck, the Architect, to kind of introduce the engineering design process. On Tuesday, we read a really fun book called If I Built a House. On Wednesday, we continued in our celebration of St. Patrick's Day with How to Trap a Lion, and we also had an engineering design activity with that book. And last night, I shared one of my all-time favorites, Stand Tall, Molly Lou Mellon. And so tonight, on our final night together in our first week of school closure, I selected a very meaningful book. The title of this book, Boys and Girls, is called The Wings of Change. The Wings of Change. The author of this book, the person who wrote it, is Franklin Hill. And the beautiful pictures that we're going to see are illustrated by Aries Chung. Let's find out what The Wings of Change is all about. Are you ready? Oh, Faith, I just love being a caterpillar, said Anu as they wander together through the garden. The morning dew just tickles my belly button, and the afternoon sun just warms my fuzzy little feet. And these soft green leaves taste so yummy in my tummy. I never want things to change, not one tiny bit. But Faith, a wise old snail, looked on with a smile. It was time for Anu to learn that changes were in the wind. I wonder what changes are coming. Let's find out. Faith led Anu to a quiet spot in the garden where she could talk and he could listen. Her words painted glowing pictures of the miraculous changes that lay soon ahead for him. She spoke of brilliant colors to come, beautiful wings that would be grown, and being able to fly through the air. Faith then shared a bit of her old snail wisdom. As the world turns, so do you. When you change for the good, you change the world too. How many of you would like to have wings and glide through the air? Let's find out. Anu was quite puzzled. He didn't understand what Faith was talking about. How could he ever have wings? He just wanted to stay a happy little caterpillar. So as always, Anu spent the day feeling the dew from the grass, smelling the moss, and eating the leaves that he loved so very much. But that night, boys and girls, Anu had a very strange dream. He was still in a caterpillar's body, but he was thinking and acting like a butterfly. In this dream, boys and girls, Anu climbed up a bush, jumped off a branch, and tried to fly. Luckily, he landed in a soft puff of moss and had only a few bumps and bruises to show for it. The other caterpillars nearby were shouting to Anu, "You're acting crazy! Have you been eating those bad leaves again?" When Anu woke up the very next morning, he quickly went to find Faith so that he could tell her about this frightening dream. But knowing that Anu would soon become a butterfly, Faith smiled and she gently said, "Butterflies can stand atop rosebuds. They view meadows from the sky, and butterflies hear the echo of the stars. So remember this, little one," Faith said. "As the world turns, so do you. When you change for the good, you change the world too." But Anu still didn't quite understand what Faith was talking about. What does she mean, he thought. So as always, he spent the rest of the day as a happy little caterpillar, feeling the dew, smelling the moss, and eating the leaves he loved so very much. But that night, Anu had another unusual dream. But this time, he still had a caterpillar's body, but with big butterfly wings. And these wings were so bright, so beautiful, so brilliant. But you see, in this dream, boys and girls, a strong wind blew Anu off a high branch, and he crashed to the ground. The fragile wings could not bear the weight of his heavy caterpillar body. His heart started to pound and pound and pound even more. Anu suddenly awoke from this brightening dream. Relieved to know that he was still a caterpillar, he settled so peacefully back to sleep. But later that night, Anu had another dream. Again, he had these big butterfly wings, but this time, boys and girls, his body was very thin, and he had 6 spindly legs. Although he now had the body of a butterfly, Anu was still thinking like a caterpillar. So instead of flying, he was crawling everywhere in search of food because he was very hungry, causing his thin legs to become very tired and sore. Ooh. I don't know if Anu is liking the changes. In his dream that night, Anu became frightened again when a bird suddenly flew overhead. Still thinking like a caterpillar, he hid under a thorny bush, tearing his fragile wings. Thinking like a caterpillar doesn't work for butterflies, he thought. He's having to change the way he thinks. What else could he possibly have to change? Let's find out. Early the next morning, you know what he did. Anu hurried to find Faith and to tell Faith about his dreams. But this time, Faith was most understanding. "Tonight," she explained to Anu, "you will make a very special bed where you will sleep in a very special. From now on, there will be no more bad dreams. So remember," do you know what Faith is saying? You guessed it. As the world turns, so do you. When you change for the good, you change the world too. So as Faith had predicted, that very night, Anu began to spin a cocoon. "I don't know why I'm doing this," he thought, "but it sure feels right." While Anu spun and spun and spun again, he all of a sudden found himself singing, "As the world turns, so do you. When you change for the good, you change the world too." His song made him feel so very happy as he worked long into the night. But growing very tired, Anu slowly snuggled into his new bed. But he felt safe. and he also felt very warm. More changes, huh? A special light began to warm him from the inside of the cocoon, too, touching every bit of his little caterpillar body. Ooh, that tickles, he thought, feeling very peaceful at the same time. That's the cocoon. But boys and girls, days passed, and spring soon turned into summer. One fine morning, Anu awoke, and he began to untangle himself from his cocoon. I feel so very different, he thought to himself as he worked to set himself free. And I feel so very happy. In his heart, he heard a soft echo. As the world turns, so do you. When you change for the good, you change the world too. His new wings gracefully opened and a gentle breeze lifted Anu into the air. Look, he shouted, I can fly. I can stand atop rosebuds and view the meadows from the sky. I can even hear the echo of the stars. I just love being a butterfly. Wow. He sounds and feels a little different from the beginning, doesn't he? So Anu flew higher and higher, singing the new song of faith. Do you remember it, boys and girls? If you do, sing it with me. As the world turns, so do I. When I change for the good, I can touch the sky. The end. Boys and girls, wasn't that a great book? That was a really good book. And if you think about what the main idea of the book was, well, it was about the story of a caterpillar. And what was the caterpillar's name? Anu, that's right. And Anu had to go through some changes. But did Anu like going through the changes? No, Anu did not like going through the changes. And boys and girls, I chose this book because it's pretty symbolic of what is happening around us in our world and in our community. This week, we've had a lot of changes that have taken place. Can you think of some changes that may have taken place? What's the biggest change? You had to stay home from school, that's right. And there's probably some other changes that you had to go through. Maybe not quite like Anu, but those changes such as doing your work from home, maybe talking with your teacher over your Chromebook, turning in your work electronically, not eating the school food, maybe meeting up at a bus stop to get food delivered to you. Those are all changes that you've experienced this week. And they're similar to the changes that Anu had to go through in the spirit that it makes us feel uncomfortable. But boys and girls, I'm here to tell you that it's okay that we're having to go through these changes. You have loving parents and and teachers and other people in your family who love you very much, and they're teaching you these special things this week to deal with the changes. But the most important thing that you have to do is to have hope. You got to stay positive, and we are going to get through this together. Be respectful. Do your homework. Do your classwork. Make sure that you're listening to your parents, and we're all going to be okay. So boys and girls, thank you for joining me in our final night of our Read Alouds with Dr. Ivey. I want to give a big shout out to several boys and girls who took me up on our challenge from last night. You remember our challenge from last night? I asked that you do your melting pot activity with at least 5 words that make you special. And then I wanted you to write using those 5 words. The second part of that activity was to put together your very own me bag. And And the reason why Mr. Ivey asked you to do a me bag is because we are building our own community, and I can't wait to come back next week to continue our read alouds. But this is an opportunity for me to get to know a little bit more about you. And so I want to give a huge shout out to Selah, to Jalen, to Aaron, and to Carisi, who already did their melting pot writing assignments and their me bags. I got some videos and pictures already. I'm going to ask that anybody else who's interested to participate in that to go ahead and have your child finish that. And if you would record them practicing those communication skills and send it to me, I'm going to post it. And just like we've done before, we'll have prizes for those scholars who do participate. So I ask that you send that to me by Sunday afternoon so that we'll be ready for our read alouds again on Monday. I'm looking forward to next week. And boys and girls, remember, if no one else has told you that they love you today, Dr. Ivey is telling you that he loves you. Have a good night, boys and girls. Enjoy your weekend.